All right, we're not going to waste any time with abstract theory here. This explainer is all about one thing, the practical, hands-on Python skills that actually get you hired. So if you want to go from just learning Python to earning with Python, you are in exactly the right place. Let's dive in. So let's say you're learning Python. Your big goal is to land that first developer job, right? You've probably got loops and functions down, maybe even dipped your toes into object-oriented programming. But what's the next step? What's that one practical skill that interviewers are always looking for? Well, here it is. You absolutely, positively must master how your Python code interacts with the real world. And that means handling files and dealing with data. Seriously, this isn't some nice-to-have skill on your resume. It's a non-negotiable must-have requirement for pretty much every backend, data, or automation job out there.
Okay, first things first, let's build the foundation. We're going to cover the absolute essential mechanics of how Python opens, reads, and writes to files.
You know, at its core, file handling is exactly what it sounds like. It's how your Python script can save its progress, or read secret keys from a config file, or process a bunch of user data. It's what makes your programs persistent and powerful.
Now you really got to pay attention here because one single letter can literally make or break your entire program. R is for read. That's simple enough. But if you use W for write, you will completely erase everything that was already in the file. Poof, gone. If you just want to add to the end of a file, you have to use A for append. Getting this right is absolutely critical.
This right here, this is one of the biggest signs that separates a beginner from a professional Python developer. Yeah, you can open a file and then try to remember to close it manually. But the real pro standard, what employers expect to see in your code, is using the with statement. It handles closing the file for you automatically and safely. No bugs, no resource leaks.
And speaking of writing solid code, what happens if the file you're trying to read just isn't there? Or maybe you don't have the right permissions to open it. Your program will crash. End of story. That's why wrapping your file operations in a try-except block to catch errors like a file not found error is another one of those non-negotiable skills for code that's ready for the real world.
Okay, with that foundation in place, we are ready for the main event, JSON. Look, if basic file handling is the concrete foundation, then JSON is the skyscraper you build on top of it. It is the universal language of data on the modern web.
JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. But don't let that name fool you. It's used absolutely everywhere, not just in JavaScript. It's just a simple, text-based way to structure data that's super easy for both humans and computers to understand. If you've ever used a weather app that pulls in the forecast from some server, yep, you've used JSON. At first glance, JSON looks almost exactly like a Python dictionary, which is what makes it so powerful. But, the devil is in the details. JSON needs lowercase true, false, and null, not Python's capitalized true, false, and none. And here's the big one that gets everyone. All strings and keys in JSON must use double quotes. Single quotes will throw an error every time.
So how do we cross that small bridge between a Python dictionary and a valid JSON object?
Well, the great news is that Python absolutely loves JSON. It comes with a built-in module that makes working with it incredibly simple.
When we go from a Python dictionary to JSON, we call that serializing it. Just think of it like packing your Python data into a universal travel adapter. The built-in JSON module gives you two main tools for this. json.dumps S, and that S is important, it stands for string, which creates a JSON string right there in memory. And then there's json.dump, which writes your data directly into a file for you.
And hey, here's a little pro tip that interviewers love to see. Whenever you're writing JSON to a file, always add the indent equals 4 argument. This is what we call pretty printing. It takes the JSON from a single, unreadable line of text and turns it into this beautiful, clean structure that's super easy for any human to read and debug.
And going the other way from JSON back into Python is called deserialization. It's basically unpacking the data. The pattern is exactly the same, just in reverse. You use json.loads, again with an S, to parse a JSON string from memory, and you use json.load to read a whole JSON file and instantly convert it into a Python dictionary that you can start working with.
So, we've gone through the technical bits. We know how to do it. But let's talk about the payoff. Why is mastering JSON one of the absolute fastest ways to level up your Python career?
It's because in any modern developer job, you will live and breathe JSON. It's just a fact.
Whether you're building a web app with Django that needs to talk to a front end, or you're pulling data from an API, or you're just reading a simple config file, JSON is the common thread. It is everywhere.
So, let me be super clear about this. The examples we just walked through, they aren't just some abstract exercises. They are a direct look at the kinds of tasks you will be doing day in and day out as a professional Python developer.
And because this stuff is so fundamental, you can bet that hiring managers are going to test you on it. They'll ask you these exact questions in a technical interview. Knowing the difference between dump and dumps isn't just trivia. It's a litmus test to see if you have real, practical, hands-on experience.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, so let's boil it all down into a simple, actionable checklist you can take away with you.
Here's your cheat sheet for writing job-ready code. Number 1, always use the with statement for files. Number 2, know the difference between the file versions, dump and load, and the string versions, dumps and loads. 3, always expect things to go wrong and handle those errors. And 4, just remember, JSON is almost a Python dictionary, but it has a few very strict rules you gotta follow.
Look, mastering these concepts is what takes you from someone who just knows Python syntax to someone who can build real, data-driven applications. So the only question left is, now that you've got these powerful tools, what are you going to build with them?